All right, good evening, guys. My name is Pao Salud, and welcome, Powcast Sports Nation. I think it's going to be a big episode tonight. And Homer, when I posted that Twitter post and you reshared it, when Coach Tim Cohn replied to it, I thought it was already a win. And that in itself for me, wow, Coach Tim Cohn recognized and saw our show. But today, a big Coach Tim Cohn being on our show, I think it's big for us and for me, and I'm so excited. He's actually here, Homer, right?
Yes, I know, right? I couldn't believe it either. But
Okay.
again, I remember in my conversation with Coach, those there are expectations of privacy on those conversations, but I remember a snippet when he told me like he respects the media's job. So even though
Mhm.
I'm not his biggest cheerleader, he knows I respect what he does, and I appreciate the success that he has built. And sometimes it's hard when you go into a show and you're like, okay, what's the welcome here? Is there a welcome mat? Is there some stiff arm? And for him to come and say, "Hey, I want to go in your show," and hey, I don't care what you ask. I'm gonna answer what I think, what I believe I can answer, and I'm not gonna answer some of the things I can't answer. But the fact that he's here, pal, malaking ano yan, malaking. Again, it's a bursting of gratitude here, bursting with
Yeah.
gratitude.
Well, undeniably, Coach Tim Cohn is a big name for Philippine basketball. I don't think no introduction. I mean, there's really no introduction needed. I'm sure all basketball fans that are watching right now, especially yung mga kabarangay, Ginebra, please, if you want to learn more about Coach Tim Cohn and if you want a lot of people to know about this, please like, comment, and share, lalo na yung mga kabarangay Ginebra ko dyan. I have the feeling the kabarangays are gonna be watching this, whether live or recorded. So, ayoko na patagalin. Homer, you do the official introduction of our guest tonight.
Well, he looks as wholesome as white as American pie, and
Mm,
he doesn't look like us. Blue eyes and blonde hair, but he's every bit of Filipino. Everything that courses through his DNA is Filipino. He's as recognizable as the Jose Rizal statue. He's the
mm.
winningest coach in the history of the PBA, a Grand Slam winner to 21 championships and counting, and obviously his second run with the national team. And again, like you said, there are no words. So let me introduce the one and only Tim Cohn.
After this introduction, he'll be with us.
Powcast Sports, the number one independent sports voice of the Philippines.
Philippine sports fans, listen up, take a seat. Here's a collab you didn't see, now it's banging on the beat. Authority and hoops with the influence of flame. Different lanes, same mission, yeah, we reppin' one game. Podcast on the airwaves, knowledge mixed with heat. We inform, entertain, make you think every week. Homer says podcast, let the truth hit fast. Homer says podcast, yeah, you know we built to last. Get ready, showtime, yeah, the moment has arrived. Hit like, share, comment, Homer says and Pow Salute, we are now live.
Powcast Sports. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell.
All right, we're live. Coach Tim Cohn is
Hey,
finally here.
that's
Yes.
that's the first time I heard the introduction. That's the first time my name and Jose Rizal has been named at the same time. I'll tell you that. Couldn't be any better than that. I'll tell you.
I wasn't aware of that, but yeah, that was something. Coach Tim Cohn, before we start, maybe you want to greet the kabarangays, all the basketball fans that are watching right now.
Oh wow, we have our upcoming game coming up in next Friday. So we're hard at work. We're doing 2-a-day practices and trying to get ready. Our preparation is always a little different from everybody else's because we're coming from the Gilas tournament. So I wasn't able to be with the team throughout the whole Gilas window. So and other teams were practicing. So we're trying to make hobble right now. And so I just want to say, we're doing our best for you and thank you for coming on the show tonight. And I hope we win our first game for you guys tonight on Friday.
Thank you, Coach. Homer.
Okay, I'm gonna start the ball rolling, Coach. We got a lot of good stuff to talk about. So I begin with Gilas, obviously. We've had three former national team coaches on the show, and we asked the same questions. But we're gonna ask you now. You're actually the man behind the wheel. So here's the thing: Over the years, and including this one, the February window, our national team have been burdened by the same problems: a shallow pool, the lack of availability of players, and the number one is the lack of practice time. Is there a resolution to this, coach? Is this something that's solvable, or it is just what it is, given our PBA three conferences and you know players and teams having their own agenda? So can this be solved?
Well, I'm not sure it's just totally a PBA issue. Or a Gilas issue. It's a worldwide issue. At least when I talk to some of the other coaches, like I talked to the New Zealand coach, I talked to a Vietnam coach, earlier. They're all having they're pretty much the same issues, and one of the reasons is because we're having windows now, and the windows come in the middle of the season most of the time, and so the leagues have to stop. And so like New Zealand, I was told by the New Zealand coach they had 4 days of practice before they were able to play against us here at home. So I'm not sure it's just totally our thing, but what we're trying to do is the best that we can with what we have. Last window was one of our best windows in terms of preparation. We had 10 days, which was a lot. Like I said, that's 6 more days than what New Zealand had. And plus the availability wasn't always there. As we all know, QMB came late because of the contract issue. The Japanese guys came, 3 or 4 days later because their league didn't end. And then the worst of all was Carl and Kevin, KQ. They came with 4 days to go because Korea always finishes last. So we always get those guys last into the pool. But I think it's a worldwide problem. I know the U.S. is having problems because they can't send any NBA players, so they send some D-League teams and they got beat in the last window by Dominican Republic. So, and I think this is a world. I think the issue really is with the way FIBA does it now with the windows, as opposed to tournaments before. They had tournaments and we prepared longer for tournaments. Now we just have those short windows. So do I have an answer for you in terms of is there an answer to getting more preparation, more availability? I don't have an answer. We're just trying to do what we feel is what the best of what we have. And that's keeping a continuous program going for as long as we can before everybody gets upset and decides to fire everybody and start all over again.
Coach, real quick to follow up on that, just to piggyback on that one. The preparation has always been a concern for a lot of fans. Is this, from what you said, is this more of just a reality that we just need to accept? That since everyone's doing this.
Well, this is not. Like I said, I'm not sure it's totally a PBA. The PBA plays 11 months out of the year, and that's really unusual. That for a league to play 11 months, almost 12 months a year. This last this last season's going to last 15 months. Although they are taking breaks for the Asian games, they're taking breaks for the window, taking an all-star break. But the thing is going to end up being 15 months, which is really crazy. But they're doing that so they can give us longer breaks for the windows and the tournaments that we have. I think there's 5 windows this time. Last year, there was only 3. This year, we're going through 5, including the Asian games, which is a 10-day tournament. So it's not that easy to schedule for everybody. We don't have a summertime like the U.S. does or like the Korea or the Japan League does. And that makes it a little bit harder for us for sure. But, it is almost a reality now, especially with the windows, the way they did it. This has only been going on for how long, Homer? How many years have we been doing windows now? Maybe the 2 years that I've been doing it and the year before with Short Reyes. Last 2 years, I guess, is when windows. Before that, they were just tournaments. So the windows have really made changes to how teams can prepare. around the world.
Okay.
Coach, there's another thing that you mentioned QMB and subsequently Kai Sotto. The SPP, I was told, has what they call this new philosophy of equal pay for everyone. I can tell you now, by having spoken to both the camps of QMB and Kai Sotto, they're not going to, unless the check is strong, they're not going to play, especially Kai, who did not play this July. Now, is this philosophy sustainable, coach? I mean, I'm asking this from you,
Okay,
who has a
I have an answer
powerhouse
for
team in the
that,
PBA that has
I think.
a lot of max players.
Okay, um, let me start. This is a really good question, and I know it's uppermost on a lot of people's minds. The fans are asking. I know it's uppermost on the Kai's camp, QMB's camp, Dwight's camp, AJ's camp, June Mar's camp. They all have this. That this is an issue. Um, First of all, I'm a coach, so I'm not a manager. I'm not a president of the organization. I don't own the team. So from a coaching standpoint, I want these guys to get paid. The best thing of all, let everybody get paid. I want my Ginebra players to make the maximum amount of money they can make. I don't do anything with contracts with Ginebra. I don't even know what people make. I don't know how long their contracts are. That and I don't want to know it. I didn't know that with Magnolia. I didn't know that with Alaska because I don't want that to be an issue between me and a player. Um, I know in the past, Sonny Jaworski was the one that did the contracts, and man, my hat's off to him, to the legend, for him being able to do that. But that's not something I've ever wanted to do because I want my players to max. If it was up to me, I'd give them all max contracts as much as I could. So first, let me get that out of the way. Um, uh, Secondly, I think if you look around the world, from what I understand, Korea and Japan, they don't give anything to their players except small allowances. New Zealand doesn't give anything to their players, although I understand now New Zealand players are asking for money, but prior to now, they'd never been given money. Lebanon, who is a basketball crazy country like we are, they don't give anything to their players. And in fact, in one of the windows, they had to pay their own way because the government was so strapped. They had so the players paid for their own way. At least it's what I've heard. And of course, the U.S. they don't get anything either, except they get first class this, first class that. Everything is taken care of. And I wonder what the D-League players are getting for their window and what they're doing. I also talked to LA and who else? Junmar, guys that were in the program before. And he said in 2014 World Cup, in 2016 World Cup, when they were qualifying, 2018, they weren't getting anything. It wasn't until the World Cup was here in Manila that they started actually paying for players to show up. And it started with, of course, Jordan Clarkson and the amount of money he was making. And other players started saying, well, if he's making, we want the money too. So they started paying off other players as well. But the budget at that time for the World Cup, when the World Cup was in Manila, was a big budget because they were hosting the World Cup. So there was a lot of money invested and an amount of money to pool out to the players. Once the World Cup ended, then there was they cut the budget. And now we had to be under a certain budget. And it was going back to, we're not going to get into, the idea was we're not going to get into individual guys trying to get every player in to a contract and negotiate with each player. They didn't have the budget to do that. So they came up with the idea that we would do it equally. And you'd either choose to be a part of it or you choose not to be a part of it. And it's kind of like if we do it for one, we're going to have to do it for the other 11. And I know I've read what you've said about Kai being special and QMB being special and they need to be paid. And I certainly understand that. We certainly understand that. But again, it's not our money. It's not, we don't control the budget. We are just given the budget. We can go on our hands and knees and beg for the budget, but this is what is given, and this is what we have to work under. So, but like I said, if it was up to me, yeah, for sure. I understand Kai's importance to the program. I understand Q's importance to the program. Same with Dwight, same with Jumar, Scotty, all the other ones.
Now, Coach, I know budget is a very sensitive thing to discuss, but at least we're talking about players that are very large human beings, regardless of whether you want to pay him or not. Do you think at least the accommodations when it comes to air flights should be better than Coach? I'm asking that because during the Guam window, the flight from Manila to Guam, QMB, who is approximately who is 6'10" and has approximately a 38-inch leg, he sat in the coach, struggling to pretend to be a contortionist just to be comfortable with his knee not touching the back of the seat in front of him. AJ Edo, I was also told had to flop his foot on the aisle where the stewards would pass by because just to make him comfortable. So
same with Jumar.
Yeah, same with Jumar.
Jumar is a much bigger man than both of those guys. He had to do that, and we have a rule. When I was with Chut and doing the national team, we were going to Saudi Arabia. We were going to, and these are 10-hour flights and such. Players were all in coach prior to, and that was during the World Cup, before the World Cup. And again, LA, Jumar, they were telling me they never, ever rode business class. Finally, we had an agreement, and this is something I really battled for, because I totally agree with you, that when we went to, when was the last window?
Saudi Arabia, right? Guam?
Well, when we went to the Middle East. Because
Okay.
it was a 10-hour, anything over an 8-hour flight, anything over a 5-hour flight with the Gilas now, we are now going business class. We did send everybody business class, and not this window. When was it? When we went in last
Abu
year?
Dhabi? No, was it Saudi, right?
Yeah, that was for the FIBA Asia Cup. FIBA Asia,
Yes.
right? FIBA
Yes.
Asia Cup. We took everybody, all the players, except for the coaching staff, went business class in that trip to, and that was the first time we've ever been able to do that. And then they said, well, the rule is, and I agreed with them, if we're going to go somewhere within 3 to 4 hours or somewhere around Asia, then they would go coach. But anything beyond that, we would go business class. So we did go business class. We just didn't do that for Guam. But we are
Yes.
putting them in, and I agree, but we are putting them in what do you call it?
LC.
Exit rows.
The aisle seat. Exit.
Exit rows, so that they have extra length for. We put the big guys all in the exit rows, so there is a little bit more comfortability. But sometimes we get caught, and they have a different plane or something happens, and we didn't be able to get that. But generally, the SBP tries hard to treat the players really well. They try hard within the constraints that they have, and I'm seeing it. I think there are things that they can do that are better. And like I said, first year and a half I was with them, we never went business class, but this last time we did. And in the last trip to Guam, I went coach with them, because I just didn't feel like it was right for me to be in business class and for all the players to be in coach. So we all rode coach in this
Yes.
last trip. Of course, I'm you're 6 feet, so it's a little easier for me.
Except I was told that there were a couple SBP officials who flew first class while QMB was struggling to be a contortionist in his coach seat. But that's a story for another day.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's an issue. I mean, the big bosses, they always ride business class. They always go on their own. I don't think that's I mean, that's something that goes on in companies as well.
I see. Yeah, coach. It's their money. They can spend it however they want. Like you said, we don't own the team. We don't control the budget. We don't. We sure don't want to advocate how other people spend their money, but it's just
Want
a
to do
bad
the
look.
best we
That
can for the players, and I think that this SPP has done that. I think they really try to do what's best for the players, and
I agree.
I think
I
that
agree.
Al Francis Chua, if I may, is excellent in treating the players. I mean, that's why people want to play for San Miguel, Ginebra, and Magnolia, and he does that, and he does that for the players. You see them on the trips. He does everything he can to keep them comfortable.
My fondest memory of Al Francis Chua was, I think, the Southeast Asian Games where he actually bought the food, helped serve it to to the
Exactly.
players. So
He
that's
does that
just
all the time.
yeah. And then Vargas is obviously a friend of the show as well, and we don't speak, but we respect all they do. Again, it's a private entity. It's not. This is not like a public corporation where we can demand certain things. It's a private entity, and they can choose to do what they want to do.
Is
Now
the
I'm
SPP
gonna
private? I didn't
yes.
know. Is the SPP private? I
I,
thought
I
it
think
was a government sponsored, but it
I
just
think yeah.
it's
I think so, but the MVP group that mostly
right,
supports it and
right.
the SMC are private entities.
Yeah, yeah,
The,
you're right.
yeah, obviously the Samang Basketball is a government entity. Let me make that clear. But the people supporting it are private entities, and
Right, right.
we
One that
cannot
sponsors. Yeah,
correct.
you're
Now I'm
correct.
gonna pivot to the competition proper, coach.
Mhm.
With New Zealand now and Australia on our Asia zone, and then we always have problems with China, Japan, Korea. How realistic is that? How doable is the Olympic slot moving forward?
Well, okay. This is again something that I've got a lot of questions, like just people that I know and people that I see on the street, and they ask me all about that. And I think that you have to understand the process of getting to the Olympics. For us to get to the Olympics, there's only two ways you can get to the Olympics, and one is the Olympic qualifying tournament. But you got to be able to qualify for that. We did that last year in Latvia when we beat Latvia and went to the semifinals and lost to Brazil, and then Brazil ended up going to the Olympics. The other way is to be the best team, the best seeded team at the end of the World Cup. So if you're the best seeded team in the World Cup, which was Japan last year, we were the second best team in the last World Cup here in Manila.
23. Yes.
Yeah, Japan was number one. We ended up number two. So Japan got an automatic berth to the Olympics. So for us to get to the Olympics, we have to either go through the qualifying tournament or be number one in the World Cup seeding. Now, in the World Cup, Australia and New Zealand are not included in Asia. They are not considered Asia in the actual World Cup. So you take those out, it's really about us and China, Korea, Japan,
Japan.
Lebanon, all the true Asia, not the Oceania teams. So for us to get to the Olympics, we have to qualify for the World Cup and then finish number one in Asia at the World Cup. Now, this is what we're doing now. This is our windows right now that we're doing. We have to qualify to get to the World Cup. For us to get to the World Cup, we have to get to the second round, which we have done already by sweeping Guam. We have already assured ourselves of playing in the second round. Yung problema for us is that we have those games that we're playing now are carryover into the second round.
I see. Okay.
And once you get into the second round, you're in two divisions, A and B, and you have to finish in the top three of your division out of 6 teams. The top three on your side, and then the top 3 sa kabila on the other side, they make it also, and then there's one fourth place team that makes it. So 7 teams make it to the World Cup. Qatar is in already. They are the 8th team. They're the host. Like us, Kanina, like us in the 23, we were already in the World Cup because we were hosts. So we went through the qualifying, but we were already there. Same as Qatar now. They're going through the qualifying, but they're already assured of a slot in the World Cup because they are the host. So then it comes down to the top 7. And then you think of the top 7. Who are the top 7? Australia, New Zealand, China, Korea, Japan, Lima, yeah, that's 5, right? And
Yep.
then you got Lebanon, and
Lebanon.
Jordan, and another contender is Iran. That's 8 teams, and then by us, that's 9. So of those 9, we have to knock out 2 to get to the top 7. And if we're in the top 7, then we qualify for the World Cup. Then we can qualify by the World Cup and get the number 1 seed in Asia. Then we can get qualified for the LA Olympics. That's the process in which we have to go. So, looking at that, yes, it's possible. We have an opportunity. We have to get 7 of basically 9 teams. But we've been put in a really tough early bracket with Australia and New Zealand. So we were really, really hoping in the last window we could sneak 1 game. We needed just 1 win out of those 2 to really help us into the carryover. But we failed in that goal, which was really disheartening.
So does this mean to say, Coach, that the next window against Australia and New Zealand are must wins to be able to get to that 7th spot?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
But it would be, because again, we have to do, because when we go into the second round, the teams we will be playing will be the Middle Eastern teams.
Okay.
We will play most likely Iran, Jordan, and that's, with the things going on in the Middle East,
Yeah.
you don't know what's going on right now. But with right now, our group is Iran, Jordan, Iraq, and Syria. And Jordan and Iran are the 2 tough teams. Iraq and Syria we're not sure who will make it with the 2. It'll be one of the 3 of those 4 teams. If we sweep those 3 teams, then we'll be in the top 7 for sure, irrespective of what happens with Australia and New Zealand. But
Coach,
that lowers our margin for error going into the second round if we can't get at least 1 win out of the 4 games with New Zealand and Australia. That's why the last window was so important for us, but not a killer by any means.
Coach, obviously Australia and New Zealand are different animals. They're a different level. You're playing the Middle Eastern team. Going forward to that, what do you think is the biggest gap between the Gilas Pilipinas and the world team to be able to really compete in that level? What's the biggest gap?
Kai Sotto.
Height. Kai Sotto. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
very specific, Coach.
I've said this before. I've said it publicly already. I compare Kai to Junmar at San Miguel. With Junmar playing in San Miguel, and they've been the dominant all Filipino team, with Junmar, because he is such a dominant player. And when he's such a dominant player, he makes all the other players around him better. And so when you take him out of the lineup, it's still a very good lineup. I mean, you got CJ Perez, Marshall, got Mo Tautua. It's a good lineup, but it's not like it's the same without Jumar. When Jumar's in there, it's a completely different lineup. I mean, it's still good, but not great. And I've compared that with Kai. I think with Kai, with us, I mean, when we had Kai, we beat Latvia at Latvia. We beat New Zealand at home. We have done wonderful things with Kai in the lineup. So I think we're a good team, really good team, especially now that Q has joined us. I think we're a really good team without Kai, but with Kai, we're levels better. And because he'll make everybody around him better. He'll take more attention away from Justin. He'll make, or our naturalized player. He'll take less. He'll lessen the minutes of the other big guys, keep them fresh. We'll have a rim protector in the middle, make our defense stronger on the perimeter because he can protect the rim in the middle. So, he does a lot of things. He's also a terrific passer, and he makes our triangle flow. And he is a tremendous triangle center, probably the best you can get in terms of being able to do all the versatile things that he does, which is what you look for in a triangle center. So he completes the puzzle. So yeah,
Yes.
we need Kai, and um, there's no doubt about it. We need Kai, but it's not a. I mean, it's not a guarantee that suddenly we're going to be one of the best teams in the world with Kai. But I think we can be competitive with some of the best teams in the world, like we proved against with Latvia. Latvia was the fifth-ranked team in the world, and we beat them at home.
Yes.
And we'd never even come close to beating New Zealand before, and we pretty much
Beat them.
dominated that game against New Zealand when we beat them with Kai. And Kai was absolutely dominant in that game.
Yes.
So, I mean, obviously that's the easy answer. Yeah, bring Kai in, we're going to be able to compete. But no doubt about it, this last window was not my finest moment as a coach. I did not coach the last window well. And if people want to complain about it, they have every right, because I did not do a good job. Tried to change some things up. I tried to go away from my own strength, which was the triangle, tried to do some other things outside the triangle, kind of blew up in our face. I was really proud of the way we defended, especially against New Zealand. But we just never got our offense on track. We never played in a proper tempo. Lot of mistakes there, and it was mostly coaching mistakes, and not. And I think if you talk to our assistant coaches, they'll say the same thing, that it was not a well coached series, 2 games.
Coach, to me,
oh,
speaking of coaching, to me, I think Richard Del Rosario is one of the more underrated coaches in the PBA, and how important is he in the national team, coach? How big was his input on the defensive principles that made your team really good in that window?
Well, I've always talked about Richard as being, he's the strategist. I'm the system guy. I'm the chemistry guy. I work really hard on chemistry, getting guys to play together. I work on, keeping guys disciplined, be attention to detail, and on defense and offense. These are my strengths as a coach, and I've never felt I was a great strategist. And I've had Richard with me now for 9 years now, I think. No, sorry, longer than that, because he was a pure food. Maybe like 12 or 13 years now, 14 maybe. And
Wow.
He has been the guy that often makes the adjustments from game to game, and will come up with certain things that I don't think about at all. And so his impact is in the game and in practice is really from a strategic point of view. It's like I'm not strong at it, so I allow him to have a bigger voice. So I'm not strong at that. So I stay strong with what I do. I try to let my assistants help out on things that they're strong at. And Richard's a great strategist. He's also a great organizer. So he is like our organizer for the Gilas team. He, along with YR, Yvette, the two of them, they arrange everything. They do all the meetings with FIBA. They do all the work in terms of hotel and all that stuff, and just helping me organize practice and what we do. So he's huge. In one word or 2 words, he's huge in what we do.
Coach. Oh, okay. Okay, Homer.
No,
But
go
I,
ahead.
I wanna go. I wanna go back a little bit. I wanna just follow up. Coach, before this statement, I totally agree with what you said about Kai Sotto. I was just wondering, and correct me if I'm wrong. I honestly believe that if there's any chance that we can beat New Zealand and Australia, that will be in our home country. Um,
Mhm.
I was wondering, Kai Sotto was injured, but he was playing in Japan, and I heard he came over to the Philippines. If Kai Sotto was so important, was there? Do you think any way that we could have maybe really not forced? I mean, convince him to play because he was playing great in Japan at the same time you were playing Australia and New Zealand.
Well, let me put it this way. If I was the coach of his team in Japan, and I knew that he was coming back from more than a year long injury, an ACL injury, and also sprained his ankle just a few weeks prior, a couple weeks prior. If I was the coach of him, the last thing I would want him to do is to go to another team in which I have no control over his minutes, over his practice load, over what the trainers are doing to him. You can see, they're not going to just trust me to say, okay, well, Kai doesn't look right. I'm going to pull him out and not play him anymore. They're probably going to think I'm a national team. I got to win this game. I'm going to do whatever it takes. And I'll be honest with you. If I was that coach, I wouldn't have allowed him to come and play, or would have not allowed him, but would not have wanted him to play or advised him against playing for the national team at that point. So when he told me, or when I heard, I didn't speak to him directly, but when I heard that from the Texas, I got copied to Texas that they were hesitant to have him play because of the injury, then I was okay with it. I wasn't going to push it. There's no way I was going to push it. I can keep saying the long-term viability of Kai is more important than the short-term viability. The kid is only 22, 23 years old.
Yes,
He's going to be, wants to be, and if we can figure out a way to get him here, according to Homer, then he is going to be the key guy in our program long beyond me. I'm going to be retired, maybe in a casket, when he's still playing great basketball for the national team, long beyond me. And that is more valuable for the country than him to force him to play in that window. Now, if it was totally a money issue, then that's something completely different, something we didn't have control over. But what he told us, what his camp told us, I don't know what he told you, Homer, but what they told us, it was because they did the coach in Japan was they didn't I had to come out and say it wasn't that they disallowed him to come, but they recommended that he not come and play for us because of the injury coming back.
Regardless of what the coach's feelings were, and all of that is fair, coach, but there was a clause in his contract that would have allowed Kai to play for the national team, irrespective of whether the team doesn't like it. And I can say now with a degree of certainty that if the number of zeros were right, Kai would have played. I think it just boiled down to that. But then again, that's not your fault. And just like other coaches, I have interviewed Coach Sal Baldwin many times over the course of the years, and he's like you. He doesn't want to know how much allowances our players are getting because he doesn't want that to influence the playing time of a player, the usage, and all that stuff. So I guess you're in a good place there. That it's not your fault.
It's really easy to damage a coach-player relationship with money. That is the easiest way to damage a coach-player's relationship is through money. And that's why coaches need to stay out of that as much as they might want to, and I don't want to. And as much as you want to stay in control of everything, it's really a bad idea. And I think that's one of, if I may say, people say I've been a successful coach over the years, that is one of the primary reasons I've been able to be successful, because I always refused to get out of that. Even when there was a time when it was common for coaches to do that, I've always tried to stay out of it.
If it were up to you, coach, this is all hypothetical. QMB, from what I was told, got 2,000 appearance fee, window fee, they call it, $10,000 for the fee of actually playing, and he got a boost of about $5,000. Is Kai Sotto worth $50,000 every window, coach, you think?
Kai Sotto is worth more than that, just in terms of that. But, I've got to support the program, and I've got to support the overall idea of the program. And I'm not going to sit here on the program and confirm or deny what this guy's making, what this guy's making, and what that's not my responsibility. But I also I am in the meetings where they do talk about budget, and I know what the budget is. The issues they have with it, and I think the way they are going about it is the right way. And as much as I hate to say it, all these players are sacrificing because none of them are making the money anywhere near what they make in their club teams. I'm not
Yes.
making the money anywhere near what I get with Ginebra. I'm getting a very, very small portion of what I get for what I get in Ginebra. So this is not something, and I've said this over and over again. This is not if you're coming into here to play with the national team to make money, to make it create a living, and I think every player should be able to do that. But if you're here to create a living or make money, then this is not the right team to play for. If you want to create reputation, if you want to have the joy and honor of playing at the really high level basketball, playing against teams that possibly playing the U.S. Dream Team in the Olympics or in the World Cup, you want that dream to be able to play against these kind of guys, or just play against Lebanon or Japan or whatever. This is the best basketball these guys will have in their lives. If you want to do that and you want to, and then with your reputation, you walk around saying, I'm a national team player. And when it comes to contract team with your club team, you have ammunition to increase
Yes.
your salary. And then whatever happens, other teams or other leagues, it's happened before, it happened with Jamie Malonzo. They saw he was part of the national team. Boom. He was able to get a job in Japan. Didn't last, but he was able to get a job in Japan. So there are benefits to making playing on the national team outside of the pure cash that you would get from it. And I think that's the benefit that all the players have around the world. And again, if you're here just to purely make money, this isn't the team for you. But if you want to be with great players and you want to be playing against great players and you want to travel and have fun the way these guys have fun, yeah, there's some hardship. There might be a coach trip that you might have to take, but you're going to stay in a great hotel. You're going to eat great food, and you're going to visit another country that you've probably not been to before. So there are benefits to it outside of the cash.
Right.
And you
plus,
might
of
also
course,
get a chance to sit first class.
Huh?
yeah. And
Again?
plus, coach, I think that the journey and the experience of being in the national team is just such an experience that you cannot get anywhere. And plus, from what you said and
Exactly.
explained earlier, it looks like SBP is actually doing more than other national teams. And not a lot of people knows this. But I want to go back to what was said earlier when you mentioned how good Kai with the triangle and triangle among fans, casual fans, it became the most hated shape on social media. And they said, and this is the hard question, they said the triangle is a dinosaur, it's an old system. What do you say to that? And plus, maybe add, because you mentioned that you were doing something different during the last games. Why did you suddenly, stray away from the triangle where you said that's your comfort zone?
Oh, good questions. This is a battle that I have through my whole coaching career. Is people have always said that about the triangle and it's a dinosaur and this, and basically, be honest with you, if I can may say, we've won 25 championships running the triangle. Okay, sorry, we've won 25, but 23 of them we were running the triangle. So we've won 23 championships running the triangle and gotten to the finals, I don't know, almost 50 times. I just can't. I don't know why people want to keep bashing it. The Lakers, Phil Jackson's the winningest coach of all time running the triangle purely. One of my Alaska days, we ran the triangle purely. And it was we destroyed it. I enjoy being different, honestly. I think that being different from a coaching standpoint gives you an edge. If you're playing literally like everybody else, then what's going to separate you from being from winning games against someone who's playing just like you? Well, yeah, it comes down to discipline, comes down to execution, comes down to whatever. But you're playing exactly the same game, and we've always played a different game, and it's always been difficult for teams to adjust to us because we do play differently. And I think that's an obvious edge. As far as the triangle being archaic, well, we're not running the same triangle we were in 1989, 1991. We're not running the same triangle we were in 2001. We're not running the same triangle we were running in 2011. Our triangle has evolved through the years, and it's different. So that became a people start saying certain things about certain, and people just pick it up, and then people pick it up without really understanding what's going on in terms of the triangle. But if people want to keep calling me a dinosaur, that's fine. That really doesn't bother me because again,
Safe
I
to
like
say you're staying with the triangle, coach.
it's like Ginebra right now. We're the only team that's going to have a 6'5", 6'6" import. Everybody else is going to have a 7-foot import. We're going to play the game differently, and we're going to play it with movement and ball movement, quickness. We're going to be quicker defensively. We're going to cause a mismatch because none of the other imports are going to be able to guard Justin because they're 7-footers. He's 6'5". He's a perimeter player. So that's going to cause matchups all the time. Justin's best conferences has been in the Commissioner Cups against the bigger imports. He's played better in there than he has against smaller imports. And I know that because I'm his coach, and I've seen that through the years. The other thing is that we're going to be able to play differently, and we're going to have guards, everything. Another thing is that I wanted to say, I lost it for a minute. I got it back. Justin has never not made the semifinals in any conference. Yep. He's made the semifinals in every conference he's been in the last 9 years or 8 years. So why are we going to doubt him? Whether it be Commissioner's Cup or Governor's Cup, he's made the semifinals every time. And that's, to me, that is the key. Can you make the semifinals? That puts you in the conversation. You have to get to the semifinals. And hopefully, I know I've won a few championships, so I know that there's a lot of things that go into a championship. There's luck, there's schedule, there's health. In our last series against San Miguel, it was 2-2, and then Troy got injured in the first 3 minutes of the first quarter, and he was never the same player. He tore his hamstring, and he was never the same player. He was a key player. We lost games 5, and game 6. Conference before that, Justin got injured during the finals, had to play injured throughout the finals, and we didn't win that. So you have to be healthy, and things have to break for you to win a championship. But the key is you got to get to the semifinals. And so as long as Justin has taken us to the semifinals every conference, why change him?
Coach, I want to come back to Gilas real quick. 2 items. Number one, good news. Mike Phillips is in, and his camp told me that he's going to train here in the U.S. and then fly to Manila and join camp with Gilas. But there's one player that I really like to be in Gilas. I don't know what your opinion of him is, but I'm talking about Xavier Lucero. It's good for the international game. He's a two-way player.
He's not eligible yet. He's not eligible yet. Sav Lucero?
Yes.
He's not eligible yet. We have actually talked to him for the last window, and he hasn't got his paperwork done yet. He's not finished. He's trying to do it. He's trying to do it like Q, but he's not eligible yet.
When he does, though, do you think he fits?
Just remember, I hear this a lot with people, asking, why don't you get this player or that player? So, every player you get, you have to remove somebody from the pool, or you have to remove him from the 12. And so if we get Lucero, in your opinion, who should be taken out of the 12 players?
Scotty Thompson. There's so many there you can take. You can do some. CJ Perez.
Then you don't have any guards.
Well, you have Dwight Ramos still. You can put him at, he can play point guard. He plays point guard. You have Giuliano, point guard.
You still feel that Lucero is that much better than Scotty and Newsom well, Newsom's our team captain.
Yes. Who
And
played
who's the
one?
other one you
Who
mentioned?
played 1 minute in the New Zealand game?
Yes, and that was incredible for him to do that, and then come back and play great against Australia. He was probably the only guy who played well against Australia. However, you know, you only have room. This is something we debated actually. Just it's interesting you're bringing this up. It's a really good thing. We have been debating as a coaching staff because what New Zealand does and what Australia does is that they bring 10 players on their roster, 10 players that they play, and they bring two young players, generally early college or high school players, and they put them on the team. So they're really only bringing 10, so that it's not so difficult for the coach to try to play everybody in the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they have two players that are like they're going to play, but they're only going to play if you're up by 20 points or 25 points or whatever. So you have a core of 10 to play, as opposed to trying to fit time with all 12 players. Because what happens? If we get a Lucero, he plays in the same position as Justin Brownlee. How many minutes is Justin going to get? This has been Carl's problem. Is Carl plays basically the same position as Justin Brownlee. And Justin's going to play the bulk of the minutes. That leaves limited minutes for Carl. So, I mean, you could try to move him to the small forward position or to the off guard position, but he's not as comfortable there. You can try to manipulate the lineup to get guys into the game, but that's what you're doing. You're manipulating just the lineup just so guys can play and not playing your best players all the time.
Or you
So,
can also, or coach, I respect that, but you can also view it from the prism like, okay, two guys really good, the same position, the other guy's gonna play a lot. You put another guy where the drop off of talent is not as huge. Because if you put, I just think that Lucero, you've seen him in the PBA. He's the best defensive player of the conference. He was an all-star. He leads Magnolia, very unselfish. I just think, I may be wrong. I just think it's a miscarriage of logic if he's eligible and he's not in the pool. Do you at least
well,
agree on that?
first of all, we invited him to the pool last time.
Okay,
The last
good.
window, he was invited to the pool. Him and Baltazar were both invited to the pool, but his papers weren't ready. He's not eligible. So we removed him from the pool. We actually had him enlisted on our pool, but he's not FIBA ready yet. So, yeah, he is a candidate, but candidates are different from the actual 12 that you are going to bring. Like one of the hardest things I had to do in this last thing is I had to cut RJ, who was playing, had a tremendous camp, but we really wanted to get Juan at GDL a chance to be on the team. So we cut RJ, we cut Troy, who's so dear to my heart. He's by far the best practice player you'll ever see. I mean, he practices hard every day. He could have very easily deserved to be on that team. And we had to cut Baltazar, who also played really well. And I had to be the one to bring him into a room and tell him, sorry, guys, you are not that. And telling your own two players from Ginebra that they can't make the team is really, really difficult because you risk that relationship later on when you go to the club team. But, the bottom line is this is for the country. Guys are going to sacrifice. And they understand, they're going to do what they have to do. I can't play this window. Doesn't matter. I'm going to come back. Those three guys, even though we cut them, all three have agreed to come back into the next window and give it another shot. They may get cut again, but they're willing to give it another shot. And they are not being paid as much as the 12 that make it. So, it's more difficult for those three guys. So to bring in a fourth guy, you bring in Lucero, now we have to cut another guy from that 12. And he'd have to prove it actually in practice. Baltazar, Balti, who we call him because it's Justin, we had two Justins. So we
Yes.
called Justin JB, and we called him Balti. So I'm used to calling him Balti. But Balti had a great camp. He could have very easily been on that team. The only reason he didn't make it is because he was so new to what we did. He was new to the system, and he just wasn't really into the flow. But individually and all the individual drills and everything, he just killed. So like Juan, who the previous window, he didn't make it because RJ was more invert and knew the system better. Um, but when GDL came back the second time, he was much better in terms of playing within the system, and
Okay.
so that cut RJ out. But those are difficult decisions. I mean, we're not. It's not like a fantasy team. Where you and I play fantasy basketball, baseball, football. I play all those fantasy sports, but it's not like that where you just throw a guy in and out. It's more complex than that, deeper than that. It's also budget restraints. They don't,
Yes.
BP doesn't want us to go beyond 15, 16 players because of budget. There's more players to pay.
Yeah,
So
I
Coach,
just thought that
I
I just
just
thought that moving forward, Lucero would be a good addition to our national team. And
no
then,
doubt.
all right.
what did
No,
you say, Coach?
I said no doubt
No.
he'd be a good addition to the pool. And like I said, he would have been in the last pool. I don't know if he would have made the final 12, but one of the reasons we put him in the pool along with Balti is because QMB was not going to come in right away. So we ended up putting those two guys in first. But once Q came in, we had to cut Balti.
All right,
I
Coach.
think
You
the
know, we
next
really
time you play
appreciate.
Magnolia, Coach, Lucero will drop 50 on you just to prove his point.
Oh,
That's
okay.
what GDL did to me. That's
All right,
that's
Coach.
one of the bad things about being a national team coach is that the guys who include, they get pissed and they want to come out and the guys who get angry and they want to come out and prove themselves. And that's we were doing the same thing to Chot Reyes all the time too. Our guys were coming out and hitting on Chot Reyes when he was a national team coach also previously. So I know what
Coach,
that's all.
Coach, by the way, I like the pickup with JGDL. But I just wanted to remind both of you. I know it. Time flies. It's already an hour, and we want to be respectful of your time. So you
Yes,
still okay,
we
Coach?
haven't even talked Ginebra
Talked
yet,
about
Coach. It's up to
yeah,
you.
Good. I'm
It's up
good.
to
I
you,
can
Coach.
go longer if you want to go longer.
yeah. Well,
Yes,
I do have a question
I
I
don't know if you
wanted
have
to
time
say.
longer on your program, but if we can stretch
Uh,
it, I'll stretch it.
we do.
Coach,
We did 1 hour and a half with Coach Yang Yao. I think it was 1 hour 40 with Coach Yang, and then
Good.
yeah, and
120
with
with
the
Chot.
fans, Coach, I can do 3 hours with the fans. By the way.
Good.
But
I'm good.
anyway, Coach,
I'll try to
Homer
remember.
has been pointing out players, but I want to just paraphrase a little bit the question. From the last conference, a lot of people had mentioned that shooting has been a big concern for Gilas Pilipinas. The shooting wasn't really good. What do you think is looking forward? Do you think we need more shooters, or the shooters that we have? What do you think about them? And a common phrase on social media, because that's where I play in, Oftana was really good every time in PBA, but it seems like he couldn't find the rhythm on when he's playing in Gilas Pilipinas. How do we address the shooting with Gilas Pilipinas?
Oh, that's a multifaceted question. Okay, First of all, let's talk about the shooters on the team. Who's a better shooter than Calvin in the PBA?
Lucero.
It's off
Good
to the Lucero's not a great shooter. He's a good player, but he's not a great shooter. He's not a lights out 3-point shooter. He's more of a all around versatile type player. We're talking about pure shooters here. Calvin is probably our best shooter in the PBA.
Yes. Yeah.
Is Dwight a bad shooter?
Yep. Last two games he was
I see some
horrible.
comments of Jordan Heading. What do you
I'm
think
not
about
talking
Heading?
about the games itself. I'm talking about, is he considered a good shooter? Is Justin Brownlee considered a good shooter?
Yes.
Is
Yes.
is JDL considered a good shooter?
Yes.
Who am I missing now? Is KQ considered a good shooter?
Should
Kevin-
be, yes, from the outside, yes. So how come
okay.
we're having
So-
a
Go.
problem?
Let
with
me
shooting?
finish. Let him finish, pal.
Let's
Sorry.
address the first problem. Do people say we don't have enough shooters on the team? That's 5 shooters already right there. That's Justin, JDL, that's Calvin, that's Dwight, and that's KQ. and we're not including CJ Perez, who has been shooting lights out from the 4-point line in the PBA recently. Our big man shooters, Carl is a good 3-point shooter. So the question is not, do we have enough good shooters on the team? I mean, we can go out and get, I think the best shooter in the PBA right now, honestly, is Jarek Hanmisi. The best pure shooter in the PBA right now is Jarek Hanmisi. The problem is he's a 6'1", 6 foot off guard. And, he's playing against, he's going to be guarded by guys who are 6'6", 6'7", as an off guard, 6'5", and you can't get his shot off. If you watch GDL, he had a hard time getting his shot off because he's smaller. It's harder to get off against these big guys. Now, we play Asia, we play Japan, we play Korea, then that size may not be as important, but you're going to be playing Australia, New Zealand, European teams, then size in that guard position, especially defensively, becomes a real issue. When we played Australia in the FIBA Asia Cup, their 2 point guards were 6'5" and 6'6". And, we're trying to guard. We come out and we play them with, guys like Jimmy Alapag was probably the best point guard we've had in Gilas history, him and Jason. And neither of them are 6 feet tall. And they're trying to go against 6'5", 6'6" guards. So, those are some of the issues that we have. Jarek would be the best shooter to put on the team. I don't know if he's eligible. He's a Phil Amp, so I don't know if he's eligible. But if he was, he'd be a shooter. But that's what I'm saying. He would not be able. It would be tough for him to play at that international level, being the position that he is and the size that he is. So, who's better than the shooters that we have? So that's the first one you asked. Are there better? Do we have enough shooters? I think we do. Justin's one of the best shooting imports we've ever had in the history of the PBA in terms of just pure 3-point shooting. So he is supposed to be supplying that shooting. Now, the second question, why did we shoot so poorly? Why do those guys who are supposed to be great shooters shoot so poorly? That's a difficult question to answer. Was it because we weren't getting the shots that we wanted to get to? Was it because Calvin, like as you said, he gets to play 35, 38 minutes a game against Talkentex, so he's able to get into a rhythm. But when you're playing and you got KQ as your backup, you got Dwight Ramos as your backup, it's hard to play Calvin out there and get him a rhythm for 30, 35 minutes in a game. And we go back to that idea of getting everybody in and playing everybody. It's hard for players to get into a shooting rhythm if they're not playing well enough. Now, the worst one, and that comes from coaching, were we not generating good shots? Were the shots they taking, were they open and they were missing them? Were they out of tempo? Were they missing them? Were they rushing it because they were missing them? Those are the questions that is a coaching question. And that means our system is not generating the right shots for them. We're not getting enough of those open looks so that they can get comfortable and miss. You also got to remember the best 3-point shooters in the world will miss a 3-point shot 6 times out of 10. Believe it or not, they're only 40% shooters. 3-point shooters are only 40% shooters. So they're missing 6 times out of 10. So we expect them to make every open look. They're not going to make every open look, but it sure damn looked like Australia did. Australia looked like they made every open look. It was mind blowing.
So we go back to Kai. Is it fair to say some of the open looks would have been facilitated if Kai were there?
Yeah, because he draws attention. He would generate. Put it this way, he would generate more open looks than what we got because he would draw attention to him, like Jumar draws attention at San Miguel, and that's Marshall Lassiter and what's his name, the guard from before. Anyway, they would make their 3-point shots. They get so many open 3-point shots because we would collapse down on Jumar so much and give him so much attention. They'd get into a rhythm outside. And with Kai, yeah, he would draw more attention around the basket and any kind of isolation, and that would open up things, especially for Justin. It would have opened up things for Justin.
Yes.
But that's water under the bridge. That's water under the bridge, and nothing's going to make me feel better about what happened in that last window. I'm devastated by it, and I know people feel bad about it, but no one, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, feel worse about it than I do. We didn't perform, and like I said, it wasn't my best moment as a coach.
I'm gonna switch to Ginebra now. I think a lot of our Ginebra fans are waiting for the Ginebra question.
Before you
Yes, go
switch
ahead.
to that,
Go ahead.
just one question, because there's a lot of just one last Gilas question for the fans, because there's a lot of comment that says the name of Jordan Heading. What do you
Yes,
think about him?
Jordan was the guy that we had we actually asked him to be in the window. What was it? On the trip to Olympic qualifying tournament. I talked to him personally about coming with us on the Olympic qualifying tournament because Scotty was injured and we wanted someone to come. And he was in Australia. He was more than willing to fly up and be part of it. But he was having a thing with it was a private thing with his family that he couldn't get away from at that time. So he begged off. And after talking to him, we talked to Bobby Ray Parks, and Bobby Ray Parks was getting married. We couldn't do it with him. And then we talked to Matthew Wright, and Matthew Wright was in Canada, and his passport was being processed, so he had no passport. So we got struck out with all three of them. So none of the three actually came. And so we went to the OQT with only 11 players. We didn't bring a 12. And but yeah, Jordan Heading was the top of our list, but since then he's had some major back issues, and one of the things that we just heard is that he has a hard time getting to eat, practicing every day because of his back issues. So that's one of the reasons we have not brought him to the pool, but that's one of the reasons we brought Juan into the pool, because we did want a better shooter from the back court. We wanted looking for more of a lights out shooter from the back court. Juan had the prerequisite size. He was like 6'1", 6 feet, but he's big bodied. We felt he could match up better against Australia and New Zealand. So that's one of the reasons we invited him to the pool. We wanted a better shooter back there. Jordan Heading would have been a guy that we would have looked at as well.
Thank you, Coach. Homer?
Coach, I'm gonna
Ginebra,
switch to Ginebra now. This is gonna be it's gonna be fun. Okay, Ginebra used to be Tiger Woods on Sunday wearing that red shirt. Ginebra used to be Chicago Bulls on Game 6 in an NBA Finals. Haven't won since 2023 when you beat the Bay Area Dragons. I know you mentioned, you have to, all the stars have to align, but it's a drought regardless, and Ginebra doesn't do droughts. What's going on at Ginebra, Coach?
I beg to differ there. Before I came to Ginebra, we went 8 years without winning a championship.
Okay.
And before we won our championship with Justin on that famous the shot that he made against Morocco, that was our first championship in 8 years. So they have gone through droughts in the past,
but not with you. Not with you.
Well, yeah, and I know a lot of that is the fact that it's been that since then that I've taken over the national team. So you end up wearing two hats, and maybe you're not giving enough attention to Ginebra, and because you're spending more time with Gilas, or maybe Gilas is too much, and you're not. I know that there's this talk, and even my wife talks about it, and my wife understands that drought more than anybody. She reminds me of it all the time. But we also, during that time, we've been to 2 finals appearances, lost to Game 7 to Talkatex, and then lost to Game 6 to Talkatex again in the finals. And then the next conference, we lost to Game 7 in the semifinals against San Miguel. And then the next conference after that, we lost in Game 6 which I mentioned with Troy getting injured. And like I said, it's important for us to compete. We want to compete, and it's important for us to win championships, but we've got to compete first. And um, I think the championships will come. Um, and but the key for us and for me, we just got to keep making the semis. We make the semis, that gives us a chance to get to the finals. And you get to the finals, you get a chance to win a championship. And you can look at it backwards. You can't win a championship until you get to the finals. You can't get to the finals until you get to the semifinals. You can't get to the semifinals until you win the quarters. And last time we had to go through the ringer, beat Converge twice to get to the semis. But and the teams are getting better. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Look at Converge nowadays; they've improved.
Yeah.
I think Phoenix will be a real surprise with Charles Chu over there. I think he's going to get that. I think that team is loaded, really, really talented. And I think Charles will break that team open and find some success there. That's just two examples. Magnolia is getting stronger. Andrada is there now. Sav Lucero, as you said, is getting better and better all the time. But it's going to really come down oftentimes just to the import. I mean, who's going to get the really good import that's going to really mesh well with the team and give you a chance to win a championship? And so am I bothered by the fact we haven't won since 23? You bet. I'm always bothered. I hate not winning. I hate losing. But I think we're on the right track. And we've been close. We've run into some bad luck. Maybe we've had a little bit of poor coaching at times. But the bottom line is that we've been there and had opportunities. We just haven't cashed into them. Against Bay Area, that championship, we had to win a game 7 in front of 55,000 fans in Philippine Arena. And that could have gone the other way, and we might have lost that one too. So you just never know.
Speaking of being bothered, I'm actually a little bit bothered with what I see on what I saw on social media in the past days. Although I don't believe it. First, let me make a confession. When I was covering the PBA, I have to confess it's always only most of the time Ginebra fan that I watch. I cannot hide it because everyone knows that I'm following Ginebra. But when I saw a post on social media, and there's a couple of pages that did this, it says that you are retiring. Can you? I don't know if you saw that. Can you please let me know that is not true?
I actually never saw it. My wife got it in one of her feeds. I think it was IG Instagram feed or something. But the first time I heard it is a couple of friends of mine texted me and said, are you retiring? And I go, not that I know of, unless somebody is retiring me. I don't know. And just yesterday, someone came up to me and I was eating lunch and somebody I don't know walked up to me and tapped me on the shoulder and says, "Happy retirement, coach." And I go, "Well, I'm not retiring." So yeah, I guess whoever put that out there maybe is trying to give me a strong hint that maybe I should retire. But until the bosses kick me out the door, I'm not ready to retire yet.
Coach, just to follow up on that,
I don't know where that came from. Somebody put it on there.
Yeah. To follow up with that, I mean, being a Ginebra coach, obviously the most popular team in the PBA, there's a lot of like critics, bashing, and now fake news. How do you personally deal when you see some of this? Some of these are a little bit shallow, but some of this may hit you. How do you deal with these things?
Well, first of all, let me tell you that I've seen the conversation you had with Chut Reyes, and I don't think anybody's going to answer that question as well as Chut did. And those people who are watching, if you hadn't seen it, I suggest you do. It's a great life lesson what he told you in your show with Chut. So obviously, I totally agree with him. I'm a little bit different in that I do follow social media probably more than Chut does. I know that because when I was working for him in the World Cup in the national in Gilas, I know that he was not looking at social media at all then, and I was the one. And when he mentioned, sometimes people tell me what you know, and then I'll go read it because someone told me. I was one of the guys telling him what was being said at that time. But I do it really to kind of get my pulse on what's going on. I don't want to be completely blindsided by what's being said or what's being told. But there'll be like after the Australia game, I didn't look at social media for a couple of days because I knew I was going to get bashed hard, and I already felt bad enough as it was. I didn't want to feel worse. But again, you know, I have a great wife who, you know,
Christina.
pumps me up all the time. Christina, she's pumping me up all the time, and so you know, my kids, my daughter Nikki, she lives in Washington D.C. and watches every game. You know, at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning. Over
Is
in
she the
DC.
one? If it's okay with you, coach, is she the lawyer? She is the
She's
lawyer,
the lawyer.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's the
I
oldest
want to
of three
say
kids.
that only because I think the greatest success of Coach Tim Cohn is not winning 25 championships, but how he raised his children. One is a very successful, I think, broker in the financial business in San Francisco. The other one, so in Washington D.C., a
Wow.
lawyer. And the youngest child, I think, is going to become what he wants to become because parenthood. And I think that's the greatest legacy he will ever have, so being a good parent.
Thank you, Homer. That means a lot. That means a lot. Yeah, my daughter's doing very well in DC. My son does work in the finance in San Francisco. My youngest, who was my oops baby, he's still in college, and he's going to Wake Forest University in North Carolina. Same
Yep,
school as
Tim
yeah,
Duncan,
and
Chris Paul.
and Muggsy Bogues. All three of
That's
them right
right.
there.
That's right.
So he's there. He's a sophomore there, so he's doing well as well. But they are all really, you know, basketball guys. They watch the games. My son gets up at, you know, he's in San Francisco, so he has to get up at like 4 in the morning to watch our games when he can. And so again, you get that great support system going on. And as Chuck said, you know, the only reason people are going to say stuff about you is if you're worth saying something about. So, you know, when people are paying attention to what we do, it can only be a positive thing, even though it can be negative and it can be difficult to read sometimes. You know, I just try to take it with a grain of salt, and nothing stops me from moving forward. Though I'm one of those guys that's really good at moving forward. You know, I don't dwell on the past. I don't. I don't hold grudges. I don't worry about what other people say. I just really believe in moving forward, and that's a lesson I learned from your Chicago guy, Phil Jackson.
Yes.
You know, through the years, he felt his number one strength was his ability to always move forward, and that's something I tried to adapt from him. Aside from all the Zen and all the other stuff, but he always believed in that idea of having the art of moving forward is the way he put it.
Speaking of Zen, I want some enlightenment on two things. Number one, C-Stan. What happened to him, coach? He was still very good, serviceable. I know he was a little long in the tooth. People played it out that, you know, you have some argument sometimes on the bench. He doesn't like to be pulled out. But ultimately, why was he sent to the prison of terra firma? What happened there?
Oh, well, Chris, first of all, was a great player. I mean, he was really, really good at what he did. And we won a couple of championships, tough championships, including that Bay Area game in which he guarded the import for 7 games. He guarded the import pretty much by himself for 7 games, and they had a great import. And so, you know, he was an incredible player, and he had such a tremendous work ethic. He really worked hard. There's no doubt about it. He and I clashed a lot. You know, we banged heads a lot.
Yes.
He had a certain way he wanted to play, and of course, I had a certain way I wanted to play. He wasn't a fan of the triangle for the most part, although, you know, he battled his way through it. To his credit, he continued to try to execute it, but he never really never really became a part of him. Um, and there was a time when basically we begged enough that he wanted to be traded, and he made it very clear to me. He made it clear to Al Francis, and he sat out a couple of practices and kind of held out on us. Didn't want to come to practice anymore, and it was just kind of like we kind of worked it out, but there was always that kind of we worked. That was like the maybe 8 months before we actually traded him, but
Yes.
always what's the term I'm looking for? Tension
Tension.
between
Yes.
yeah, through those 8 months, and frankly, at that point, he said he wanted to be traded, so we started looking for a trade at that point, and but nothing came about. We looked at some things, and finally, and it was funny because we were getting along really well at the time. I mean, we were really coexisting at that time. But then a trade came up. Al Francis Chua found one that we liked, and so we decided to go ahead and pull the trigger. And then we pulled the trigger, and then he was like, "Hey, I said I wanted to be traded, before. It's not now." But it was kind of the thing was on the table already, and so we moved him, and it was we got Stephen Holt for him,
Isaac
and we got
Go.
it ended up being RJ, and we got Isaac Go.
Yep.
We lost Isaac within the first couple of games we had him to an ACL, so we've never had him. He'll finally play on Friday, which we're really excited about because he's been out for almost a year and a half. So it's been really nice to be able to get him back. But so we had to really kind of change the way we played once we lost Christian. It was a different dynamic not having him, and we had to really search different ways to try to make up for his absence. He was a great player. He was a great player. And we were disappointed. We were all disappointed that he left terra firma. And we've expected, I don't know, I've expected him to come back. And I've been surprised that he's not been back playing with
Yes.
somebody.
I don't blame him. If I were him too, I'd rather retire than play at the despicable, godforsaken franchise that is Terra Firma. But anyway, it's a story for another day. I got another question. Jamie Malonzo. I had spoken to him a couple times during his stint at the Southeast Asian Games. I have spoken to him since he had arrived here in the U.S. to train and prepare for his next journey. And this is after he had said he politely declined to come in the pool and play for the February window. My understanding through all this is that he wasn't happy that, after he left and there's a 3-year ban and then the sporadic use when he was in the FIBA, the Asia Cup in Saudi Arabia. Is that relationship broken, Coach? And how broken is it?
I never felt I broke a relationship with Jamie. It was not broken in the FIBA Asia Cup. I mean, it was just a choice. It's like you mentioned Newsom. Newsom only played 1 minute against New Zealand. And so, it was just choices to be made at that time. Jamie was struggling a little bit in his game, and he wasn't playing at a high level at that time. So, and there were other guys that were playing. He was playing behind KQ and Carl and Dwight. So there was minimal time there. And also Justin also plays his position. So that was a really tough position to be a part of because of the other players that were involved. He was one of the first guys I called when we formed for the last window and asked him if he was going to be able to join us in the window. There was no guarantee he was going to make the 12, but we wanted him back to be a part of the pool because he's one of our original 12 guys, and he's my Ginebra guy. And so I don't think there are any bridges burned there, unless you know something that I don't, that he might be mad at me for something. But for me, honestly, with him, I'm very good with Jamie. I love Jamie, and It was Jamie's total choice to leave us and go to Japan. We tried to keep him, and we tried to make him stay here with the
From
Nebra.
what can you shed light on that, coach? What I know, there are, expectations of privacy on that as well, but from what I was told from my reporting was Ginebra was just told. There was really no kind of permission, like, hey, I'm leaving. They were just told that, hey, I signed with Japan. And I think that was the flashpoint with which this relationship became sour. Is that correct?
I don't. Again, I don't think there's a bad relationship. Not from our standpoint, not from the actual team standpoint. Now, from the PBA, I think the PBA kind of had it up
Yes.
to here with players leaving suddenly and taking off and playing other well. And it may be a rule that I may not agree with, but
Yes.
it's a rule that I had nothing to do with, and it's a rule that was put in place.
Mm.
Um, and it's more just I think the PBA just getting fed up. But this had nothing to do with Ginebra and his teammates and his coaching staff and even as far as I know the management. It was really just the PBA saying we've had enough. We're going to institute this rule. That it happened with Jamie was the first guy to do it, but it was really for to set a precedence for other guys. As far as I know, it's about the next guy who wants to leave. If I leave, hey, I may not be able. It doesn't work out for me. I may not be able to come back to the PBA in 3 years. So and this is I think the PBA is just saying if you want to leave, then go ahead, but there's no guarantee you're going to be able to come back anytime soon. So you better at least sign over there for 3 years
Yes.
and make sure you get the money because you may not be able to come back in 3 years. But again, that's not an never rule, and it had nothing to do with us. I was fine with him going to Japan. I mean, he told me about it in privacy.
After, but did he told you after the signing or before he would sign?
I don't know. I'm not sure, but it was before he left, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was when we were with Gilas that he told me when we were practicing for the Asia Cup. That's when he told me that he was leaving to go to Japan. But I had heard rumors prior to that. I had heard rumors, and I know that he considered it the year before. He considered doing it. I had heard that, but it didn't really work out for him yet. So when it did, and again, I'm a coach. I want the best for my player. I want them to go out and make money. I want them to go out and make a living. We always tell our Gilas players that this time right now, they're playing in Gilas. This time right now is the best times of their life. They're going to look 30 years, they're going to get to my age or younger, and they're going to look back, and they're going to look back on their career. And the best years of their career, best years of their life are going to be playing these games against Australia, New Zealand, Latvia, Middle East, Lebanon, Saudi Arabia. These are going to be the best times of their lives. And I agree that with the PBA. These guys that don't get to go to the national team, best times of their lives is going to be here in the PBA. They're going to look back on it. So I want that for them. Jamie had a chance to go over there and make more money and support his family and do better with his lifestyle. I'm all for it. I really am. And we'll figure out how to deal with his loss, but we want the best for him. Yeah, it hurt us, but we'll figure it out. But it was good for Jamie. It turned out not good because he didn't last. And now he's out, but the intention was good for him to go out there and get that job and spread your wings. Kind of like what I did. People always ask why I left Alaska. It was spreading my wings, coming out and doing something different after 23 years, taking another direction, midlife crisis. I'm no longer at midlife crisis, but at that time it was midlife crisis, doing something different. So I did it. I expect the players to do it as well.
Coach, first of all, we appreciate the time that you're spending with us. As much as I really do want to ask more questions, I actually have 10 more questions here. But
Oh
Homer, I
my
just want to
God.
remind everyone that we are already 1 hour and 30 minutes. Maybe Homer, we should
Seems
have
like 10
maybe.
minutes. Oh, seems like we've
Yeah,
only
yeah,
been
I know. I do. but I just wanted to be respectful. Maybe we could time our questions, or I don't know,
Yes.
Homer. I'm just trying to be because I
You know,
only asked
it's
him
up
for
to
an hour.
coach. It's up to
I'll
coach.
be I'll
He
be
said
happy
it.
to. I can go longer if you want, but I can also come back. If you want to do another show, we can do it part two. It's
Yeah, that would
No,
be
because
good.
he said he's gonna be waking up at 5 o'clock, but I do have
Yes.
a few
Uh,
more. Maybe we could just have
5:15.
two or last three questions each, or two questions each, because
Sure,
every
go.
time Coach
Maybe.
answer, he gives us all of
Yeah.
the information. That's really great.
Yes, we can do two
Like I said,
questions.
I don't shut up. It's hard to keep me. I keep.
One
I'm
question is 10 minutes. So, but
Okay.
yeah, but when you get the chance, I already seeing comments part two. Coach, siguro I'm just gonna ask about one more questions about the PBA, and then
Mhm.
I do have some personal questions. Let's talk about Justin Brownlee. You already mentioned that, and I saw it in an interview. Everyone's going tall, but nobody beats Justin Brownlee. Justin Brownlee's proven. How do you foresee Justin Brownlee playing in Ginebra and as the player for Gilas? He's not getting any younger. What's still your expectation for him as a player or as an import?
Well, I think as a PBA import, he still sets the standard, even despite his age. As a PBA import, he really still sets the standard, and I think we're at a level at Ginebra where we have to force the other teams to come to us and say, "We'll beat you so badly that you need to prove that Justin can't do it anymore, and we need to change him." That has to come from the other teams, not from us. I mean, that I think we have to show him that loyalty. He's been with us. He's played big games. He's still very capable. We have to stay with him. I think that's only fair for everything that he's done for us, and that's not even including what he's done for Gilas. I think that's only fair. But if the other teams come out and they stomp us, and and Justin struggles, and uh, we have to think of the fans, we have to think of the organization, then we will make that change. We'll do what we have to do. But it has to be proven to us. We're not going to jump the gun and just say, "Oh, Justin, you're 37 years old now. You're terrible." And I don't think that's the case. And again, he has never not taken us to the semifinals. He's still the winningest import of all time. I think tied with Sean Chambers. Uh, and
Both
he's
under
still
you.
been worse than a semifinals. So I mean, not even Bobby Parks has that, or Norman Black has that record, or anybody. He has that record for winningest import of all time. So I mean, don't you think that we owe it to him to give him
Yeah,
the
I agree.
opportunity?
I agree,
So
Coach.
people are complaining that we're not bringing in a 7 footer. Um, and I had a big conversation with the players today that we talked about. We have to play within a certain vision, and we have to say, and we have to believe in that vision and grasp that vision, that we are going to play differently from other teams. We are going to get success playing differently from other teams. Uh, and Justin's a proven commodity. He's proven that he can do that for us. But in the meantime, the local players have to believe that, and they just can't look over there and say, "Oh, we should have a 7 footer because we can't compete." No, there's ways we can compete, even if the other team has a 7 footer and we don't. Um, so we got a 6'10" kid in Japeth. We got a 6'8" kid in Isaac. We got a 6'7" kid in
Carino.
huh?
I thought you got Carino. No, no, it was
Yeah,
Magnolia.
Carino, but he's not ready yet. We
Yeah.
have Norman Torres, 6'7". Carino's not going to be ready for at least another month or so.
Okay.
Even then, it's going to take a lot of development for him before he starts to make an impact on the team. But he's not going to be your proverbial big man. We're going to try to train him as a wing, as a big wing. He won't play as a 5. Hopefully, with this team. Hopefully, we can develop his skills to a point where he can be comfortable playing the wing. Now that I'm digressing, but that's the whole point of Justin. And so either way, we're going to give him another shot. Other teams are going to have to prove that here. Now, the national team, right now, we don't have any other naturalized players that are available except for Ange Kwame. And we are trying to, we know that Justin's getting a little older, and we're going to need to move on from him and Tom. He knows that also, but he's going to continue to give us our best until that happens. We're looking at Benny Boatwright. He hasn't got his papers straight yet. We are scouting other players. Guys like, apparently we were told by Josh Reyes that Bol might be interested in being a naturalized player for the Philippines, even though I think he's Sudanese, right?
Sudanese, yep. South Sudan.
He didn't play with the Sudan team, so he's still eligible to be a naturalized player elsewhere. So, you never know. But it's out there. We know it. We're aware of it, and we're certainly looking into it. I'm scouring the G League right now, seeing if we can find another Justin Brownlee in the G League. But that's just something you have to continue to do. You have to evolve the team. That's why we've evolved into Juan, why we evolved with Hugh, possible Lucero later on, whoever. But we will continue to evolve the team. But we're not going to rush any decisions, and we're going to try to keep a core intact as much as we can, so we can keep the continuity.
Coach, speaking of Boatwright, how much of the enthusiasm and eagerness to have him in the lineup is having emerged from a Achilles surgery a factor of that? Does that temper a little bit of the enthusiasm?
He is unknown for us at this point. He had that tremendous conference when he played side by side with Ginebra Fajardo, and they just totally dominated. He dominated, they dominated together. And the thing we liked about Benny is his versatility. He can play perimeter, he can play inside. He's not a one-dimensional player by any means, so he could fit in different. He could fit the puzzle differently. He could play with Kai, or he could play a big position with Kai as a power forward, or he could even slip down to the to the 3 position, and in a pinch he could play the 5 position. So that versatility is kind of exciting, but he's really an unknown. We don't know how he responded to the. We've seen some games that he's played with Taiwan, but aside from that, we really don't know. We really need to get him in and have an opportunity to see him up close and personal. But right now, he didn't come in for San Miguel, didn't come in for us, didn't come in for Magnolia because he's playing under contract with Taiwan at the moment. So it would have been nice to have him here as an import to see how he's playing, but it didn't work out.
Pao, should we wrap it up?
Let's have the final question. Do you have anything else?
No, I was just gonna ask about the final question, coach. Is this Japit Aguilar is 39, Troy Rosario is 34. Same with Stephen Holt. Scotty Thompson is 29, but he plays year round, so there's considerable wear and tear.
I think he's 31.
Yeah, 31. Are you gonna be in for a rebuild, or is it gonna be a retrofit, like easing little pieces like you have Carino and Go and all those guys?
I think that's the mandate for the San Miguel teams. There's no such thing as a rebuild for the San Miguel teams. I think the expectations are always by the big boss and RSA and by Al Francis Chua. They want us to be there every time. So we need to be minimum semis for us to have any kind of successful conference. But they want championships. So it's not an organization that's going to wait and do a big rebuild. That's what they're really, really good at, is adding pieces here and there so you can keep a high level team going all the time. And that's what I appreciate as a coach in terms of them doing that for you.
Coach,
speaking of high level, coach, are you still the highest paid coach in the PBA?
I honestly do not know. I'd like to think so.
From my reporting, coach, I don't know.
I have no idea what other coaches are making.
From from my, I'm told you make $25,000. Again, I don't want to. I'm not packet watching here, but salaries, coaches' salaries in the NBA are open, and it's just not to to say, hey, you're rich. It's just how you're being appreciated. And let me
Mhm.
tell you what, the $25,000, that's way less than what you have done for Ginebra. I'm just saying. And then the other coaches, I think Chot's the second, and then Nenad's way up there as well. But
I have
you
no idea.
deserve
It's not
what you get, coach.
it's not a competition in my mind. It's not a
Yeah.
competition. You get what you negotiate, and you get what you had. I told you in our last conversation on the phone, my
Yeah.
first salary in Alaska was
25,000.
25,000 pesos a month. My
Yes.
first salary in Alaska was 25,000 pesos a month.
Wow.
And I've been in the league for 37 years. And so, I hope I'm making more than 25,000 pesos a month after 37 years, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, you
But I
deserve
mean,
that, coach.
you just don't, if you don't have to, I mean, I just can't imagine. Um, I can't imagine like Eric Spolstra, everybody knowing Eric Spolstra's salary and what he makes, and I mean, it would just be so difficult that the whole world knows what you make. So I
Yes. Yes.
that mine is kind of under wraps, and people don't really know how much I make, and I'm
Yeah.
happy about that. I certainly don't
Yeah.
want to put it out on social media or anywhere else how much money
We
I make.
understand.
Plus,
Yes.
if I did that, my wife would cut my head off it during when I'm sleeping. So,
Very
It's
much
because, coach,
understandable, coach.
the NBA Coaches Association is unionized. So I think that's part of the function where salaries had to be
Mm.
laid out there. So coaches would know, what tier we are, how much we make, minimum, maximum. And that's only
I
the
don't think
reason
it's
why.
law. Is it also law? I mean, you're all bank records are public. So, in the, you have to, and for the IRS, you have to disclose the amount of money you have publicly. So I
Correct.
think that's one of the reasons that the press gets a hold of,
Yes.
digging up, they can get what they release it. So
Yes.
I don't know. I'm
But,
Okay.
but, but
thankfully I'm not in the
nonetheless,
thankfully I'm not in the
nonetheless,
if I was making $15 million a year like Spo was, I really
yes.
wouldn't care if anybody knew how much I was.
Yeah, all
Yes.
right.
The
You
bottom
know,
Okay.
line here is, coach, you're the highest paid coach in the Philippines for a reason, and
I've been
we're
around
happy
the
for you
longest.
for that.
Well,
Nobody has been longer here than 37 years than I have. I guess I'm just a
yeah.
old fogey now in the it's
Coach,
getting old.
That's it.
actually, my last question is related to that, but I would love to ask this question if you allow me. This is not my question. It's just a coincidence that two of my friends, who's always on my show, on my basketball show every Tuesday night at 9 p.m., asked the same question. This is something that probably not a lot know. Um, they're asking, when did you had the interest in basketball, and if you played organized basketball or varsity basketball when you were younger. So yeah, did you ever played basketball?
I think that's on my Wikipedia page. Um, you can probably look it up, but
Mm.
I I honestly my first basketball that I picked up was in Bel Air, Quezon, when I was 9 years old. Prior to that, I was living in Oregon, USA, and I was a baseball player and a football player. I was playing Pee Wee football and baseball, and then my parents moved to the Philippines. I was 9 years old, and my first year we spent in Bel Air, Quezon, and I went to the public
Wow.
school, and the only sport in town in Bel Air was basketball. So my buddies used to take me to the basketball court, and that's when first started playing basketball. And then after a year, I moved down to Manila, and I happened to move to San Lorenzo Village in Makati, and I lived right across from the park. And of course, the park had the basketball court. And
Mm-hmm.
so, literally every day, I would come home and I'd go straight to the courts, and that's where I really learned how to play basketball on those San Lorenzo courts. And then, of course, I played high school ball at international school, played college basketball at Menlo College in California, and um, and I played. I walked on at George Washington University, but I didn't
Oh,
get playing time over at GW. That was a
Mm.
disappointment. And but I tried to walk on in GW, and sat on the bench, but never really got into games. Picked up wiped a lot of people's sweat on the floor with towels during practice, but so I knew what it was like to play at the end of a bench, and not get an opportunity to play, yet still have to practice and play hard. So I think that's helped me in my coaching because I've known what it's like to be there. And yet, at high school, I was, the player in high school, like the star. So I knew what it was like to be a little bit like a star. So I think that's helped me through my career, relating with players. Because I was that guy at the end of the bench and never got a chance to play. And
Mm.
it's a tough situation. It's not easy. Um, and yet you go to practice every day, you bust your butt every day, you do all the work, and you never get a chance to play. And it's tough. And I've
Well,
had players like that through my career, coaching career. And so I know what they go through.
yeah, I'm looking at your Wikipedia. It says that you went to George Washington. Never said that you played. So at least now we know. What was your position? What was your position, coach?
Guard, point guard.
Point
I'm only
point
5'11",
guard.
almost 6 feet,
Okay.
5'11" and a half, almost 6 feet
All right,
tall. In
coach.
states,
My.
I
Mm.
could barely be a point guard in the states, but that was in the '80s. So no, '70s actually. That was the late
Mhm.
'70s. So point guards were still pretty small back then.
Coach,
I
and
can
my last question. Go ahead, coach. My last question is kind of at the end of that. Coach, you've already is considered one of the greatest coach in the PBA. Your resume speak for itself. What still drives you from competing? What do you still want to achieve? And what needs to happen, or when do you plan to retire? Just to make it straight, because you've been the longest already.
Well, I haven't retired yet.
Yes.
Put that on record. Um,
Mm-hmm.
People often ask me, "What is your favorite championship?" And my favorite answer is the next one. It's the next one. It's going to be
Mm-hmm.
my favorite. It's always the next one. It's my favorite. So, there's always challenges out there. I just like I like the process of the coaching that goes on. I less enjoy the games, but I enjoy practices. Practices, I feel like I have more control. Um, I love coming in and designing a practice. I love getting guys to buy in and pay attention to detail. It's just a process that I really enjoy. But once the game starts, I kind of like you don't really have any control anymore. So you can substitute here or there, or maybe say a word or two there. Um, and if you're really really good, Chort Reyes is really good at this. You can design a play for that particular day, an ATO. I'm not great at that because I just rely on my system, the triangle, to make the plays. So never really learned how to be a great ATO guy. But Chort is a brilliant ATO guy. So, but once the game starts, I'm it's to me that's not as fun as the process to get to that game, and so I enjoy the process. I enjoy being around the players, um, and I just don't see any end to it at the moment. I still feel like I have the energy to do, to give the players my 100%. Once I feel I can't do that, I can't give them 100%, then I know that'll be the time that I have to retire. And I think I'll know that. I really will.
Thank you, coach. Homer.
Plus,
on that, yes,
plus I'm
on
playing. To one last word. Plus, I'm still
yeah.
paying for my son to go to school in Washington,
Oh, yeah, there you go. That makes sense.
and I have to keep paying for that tuition, and I can't retire yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know how that
Okay.
feels, coach. I know
We
how
all
that
know how
feels.
that feels. Yes.
Yeah.
By the
All
way,
right.
my son, coach, is also in that area where your not really, but where your daughter is in DC. My son is in the
Mm-hmm.
doctorate program of one of the finest universities in America, and
Yeah,
it's
George,
something that I'm also very proud of.
which
And
one is it?
I know how that expensive it can be.
What
Which
school is he? May I ask what school it is?
Well, I'll private message you because my son says, Dad, you have 12,000 followers. You're all over social
Yeah,
media. I want them to.
you can brag. It's your son. I always brag about my kids.
No, I let my wife. I let my wife. I let my wife do that, but I do know the logistics of it. Like for instance, he's moving over there now, and this is out of state. So we have while everything is free, he even gets a salary. He's a full ride, and he's gonna
Wow.
be in the doctoral program. He's gonna be a clinical psychologist. That's what he wants to do. He's gonna graduate summa cum laude this May, and then he got accepted to this program. Very wonderful tier one research program. And although everything is paid for, tuition plus a salary every year, he has to take care of his boarding. I got to get him a new car over there to,
You live
all
in
that
that
stuff.
area, man. It is really expensive to live in that area. Wow.
It is very
You know
expensive,
that
coach.
maybe
So
in
I know
Chicago. Chicago's expensive too.
it is, coach. But like I said, we get by. I don't make team cone money, but I get by. let me just let me just say that.
I,
But anyway, on that note, coach, I
I
think
don't
we.
make Eric Spoelstra money. Dang.
Yes, I know. But if you were in the NBA, coach, assistant coaches in the NBA make minimum of $200,000 a month. So that's just
oh
a
yeah,
fraction of
wow.
what PBA coaches make. But again, coach, we would love you to continue. But again, you have practice at 5, and also
Yeah.
we don't want our the viewers is 11 o'clock, and you as well. And so we'd like to have you back. We have Dwight Ramos next Thursday, and we could have you after that. That way, you can handicap the teams, and we can also have a few games of Ginebra that we can talk about, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, just give me the invite. I'm always available. I like to talk. I
Yes,
like to.
All
thank,
right.
and we are
Thank
grateful for it.
Thank you, Coach.
I-
Maybe we could give you the last words
Yes.
before we let you go. And by the way, I just wanted to say personally, I'm a little bit pressured from the two of you because of your kids. So I'm gonna try my best to raise my kids the way you've raised yours. So I'm motivated about that. Coach
There is
Tim,
no
Well,
thank you
template,
so
pal.
much.
appreciate that. Anytime anybody
Last words
tells
to
me
the fans.
father, that means a
Mhm.
lot, man. Means a lot. You're right. That's your greatest legacy.
That's
Coach
right,
Tim,
coach.
any last
Oh,
words to the fans and just say goodbye to the fans and
first of all, I want
ask
to
them
thank
to
you
support
for letting
Ginebra.
me come on. Sorry. First of all, I just want to thank you for letting me come on, giving my side, and I hope one of the things I hate doing is coming on programs and making excuses, for failures and the things you didn't weren't able to do. I hope I didn't do that today. Um, and Like I said earlier, we're hard in the preparation for our first game against Macau Black Bears on Friday next week, and um, I hope we can win that game for all the fans out there. It's not always important to win the first game, but it's always nice to win the first game. And bottom line, you got to win games through the eliminations to get yourself in the right position for the quarterfinals. So that's the goal. And but we would certainly like to win that first game. After that, I think we play Converge in our second game, so that should be a great matchup as well. So
Wow.
thank you again for allowing me to be on the show.
All right, Homer just exited, but thank you, Coach. Thank you for giving us 2 episodes. Homer's already asking for another episode, but we appreciate it and we understand. I know it's gonna be a busy season. Thank you, Coach. We appreciate the time again.
And see you in part two. Okay.
All right, thank you, Coach. Appreciate it.
All right.
All right, all right. Bye, Coach. All right, that's Coach Tim Cohn. I had to say goodbye to him, and I mean he gave us 2 episodes already, and Homer was asking for more. But I know you guys. I understand where you're coming from. I mean, Coach is such a fun coach to speak with. He gave us one question. He gave us a lot of answers, a lot of codes. If there's any vloggers or news media that's watching this, they can really get a lot of meat. I'm waiting for Homer Saison to come back. I don't know what happened to his internet, but it's a great time. No more questions. But man, for me, it's so nice. And again, I try my best to not act like a fan. I try my best to compose myself, make sure that I stay professional. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you noticed. I'm I'm a big Ginebra fan, but today I think we've handled it well. But again, we appreciate Coach Tim. I'm waiting for Homer Saison to come back. I think he may have sent me a message. Maybe he's low bat or anything. Uh, guys, did you have fun? Guys, I hope you can share this content, and I'm I'm very honored that we're getting this opportunity to speak with all of the Gilas coaches. In the last 5 episodes, we have 4 coaches. All of them has given us a lot, a lot of insights, and we learn to appreciate them more. Now, for me as a content creator, and some people would say I'm not a real media, and the social media space has been really too harsh for personality, especially for basketball player, for Gilas, for the coaches. And what I learned and what I appreciated during the time that we've spoken with these coaches, is that their perspective, and when you look at things as a coach, you would understand how the things or why the things are such. And this is just a big realization for me, like what I said, coming in from the outside and learning this from the coaches themselves, such a blessing. And I'd like to thank Homer Saison and all the coaches and the basketball community for supporting me. I've interviewed a lot of boxers, but today and in the last 4 episodes or 5 episodes, the coaches has given me a lot. So thanks to all of them, and of course to Coach Tim Cohn. I think Homer is back, but there's no video. Homer,
I
is
know.
that you?
I yes, I
What's up?
apologize. I don't know. It just suddenly went off, and I'm back here. I think my battery almost died. So I apologize because we went into. Did Coach Tim left? I'm sorry.
Y-
Did he leave?
Yeah, I had to let
Yeah,
him go. It's already
yeah. It's
almost two
okay.
hours, 1 hour 56. So I
I
had to
know.
say
That's
goodbye
why.
to
Because
him.
normally my phone, can do video for 1 hour and a half, and
Ah,
did you extend him my apologies? I'm sorry. He know why
yeah.
you
Yeah,
took me out.
he's probably still watching, and
Yes,
we appreciate. He's gonna wake up at 5 o'clock. It's
yes.
still a little bit early, but yeah, Homer. First, let me say thank you. We had 4 coaches, 4 Gilas coaches, 4 of the best coaches. This is the longest episode, and we got them from Coach Tim Cohn. I really appreciate the opportunity. I've learned a lot. Homer, what's your key takeaway? What do you think of our session today?
No, it was terrific. It was exactly what I thought it was gonna be. Tim Cohn, I was amazed by his candor. I wish I could, speak to him on a more regular basis, but he's a busy man. Again,
Mm-hmm.
I would like to emphasize, Paul, na unlike other coaches who, just, I'm not, they're all my friends, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes the answers are very politically correct, rehearsed, and
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff. Coach Tim Cohn just tells you like it is, and that's what I like about him. Again, I wish there was a lingering relationship other than invites like here and there. Pero I think he also was extremely informative, di ba? Ang dami nating napulot
Yes.
yung mga fans ng Ginebra and Gilas fans and PBA fans in general. So many things. He also opened, he gave us speaking of FIBA windows, he gave us a peek into the window of his private life.
Mm-hmm.
And nakita natin na, he's very successful. And to me, that's always the toughest balance is career and home life. Some people are
Yeah.
very successful in their careers and then napapabayaan na ang home life. That's why people get
Mm-hmm.
divorces, children get broken
Mm-hmm.
up. But Tim Cohn had kept it together, and it's amazing to be. They say you cannot do two things at the same time good. You could be at least average in both, but he's excellent at both. Look at him, yung anak niya, isa,
Yes.
abogado, yung isa is in the finance, and the other one's in Wake Forest, a very good university here in the US. And then,
Yeah.
25-time champion. Sa introduction ko, I shorted him 4 championship. I said only 21. And
Right.
like I said, he's very honest and I like it. Hindi politically correct. Sabi lang niya. And what stuck to me
Mm-hmm.
was when he said na, well, if it were up to me, babayaran ko. I pay everybody max salary, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
again, that's not. I don't. It's not part of me. It's under my purview. I'm the
Mm-hmm.
coach and I design plays. I put the team together. Budget iba yan. That's the difference.
Yeah.
Pao mo ito yung pao. That's the difference between being efficient and being effective. You know. Say
Mm-hmm.
like for instance sa opisina. Ang janitor
Mm-hmm.
na
Homer.
you're
Mm-hmm.
vacuuming the floor. It's good to see. Oh, nag-vacuum mo, manager. But you're actually not effective because you're doing somebody else's job. You know what I mean? So there's that line.
Yeah.
And those things can happen if you have like a two-man operations opisina, then the manager can be the janitor and driver at the same time. But if you are a big infrastructure like the SBP, may iba yun. May coach, may assistant, may physical therapist, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody
Mm-hmm.
does his job. So, yun.
Yeah.
And I like it na, na hindi niya na he did not sugarcoat it. He just said, hey, listen, man, I want to do this, but there's a policy we all have to follow and my hands are tied. Ikaw
Right.
pa,
Right.
anong
Right.
biggest takeaway mo kay Coach Tim?
You know what? One. First of all, I wanted to appreciate every time he answered the questions. He really defines everything. The answer. You don't have to ask the follow ups. He would just
Yeah.
explain everything, which is really good, and I appreciate that. One thing that I've learned from all of the coaches is balance and family. Like Coach Shot, Coach Yengyao, they talk about balancing life and separating them. Uh, and one thing about them, I think all of them has tough minds. And I was saying before you came in that when you speak with the coach, me coming from the social media world where I hear most of the concern of the fans, most of the demand of the fans. But when you listen to coaches, you understand their perspective. You understand that it might look easy, but it's not really easy. So my key takeaway, I mean, we just need to understand, what's the real deal. And there's a lot of things that we really don't know that's happening. And there's a process to everything. And some of the time, there's an ideal world and there's a real world. And coach made me understand, it is what it is. Like, for example, the preparation. I didn't know that, there's a lot of teams that are having the same issue, that SBP was actually the one giving out money to the players, and other teams are not doing that. So these are things that not the average fans know. Maybe, not even me, which, I'm very thankful to learn all of those today. Homer.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah.
So yun na nga. So we will have him after Dwight Ramos next week, di ba? So
I do not know, but maybe I'm a little bit shy with that because it's already an ongoing season. So, but yeah, we can have him again if he's really open.
yes,
I don't want to force him because we're live. Then he would say yes. We'll
yes,
we'll speak with him.
yeah. Let's see. That's right. You're right.
Yeah,
But
because this is already two episodes he gave us.
yeah,
Actually,
yeah,
was 2 hours.
yeah. So we won't. Hindi natin i-advertise na may part two, right? Because we also have
Wag,
to consider. You
yeah,
never
I
know
have.
what
I think we
happens.
need to be, considerate. Then I'm sure he would say yes, unless he said he texts me right now or you. Okay, let's do part two. But I think we've asked a lot of questions, and
Yeah. But the
there's a
part two
pressure
can
in.
be also
Mm,
like I said, sa part two, pwede natin ipa-handicap niya yung mga imports at saka yung mga teams. And, Brownlees, because by then, they would have had 2 games na ang lahat ng mga teams. So, I don't know that's enough body of work, pero pwede na. Diba? Cool.
Pwede naman. Coach Tim Cohn's insights is always going to be valuable. But
Yes.
yeah, we'll discuss this. And again, I want it. It's just that, of course, it's already in season,
Yeah.
and right, no. So those handicapping maybe, I don't know if he's gonna be real honest about who's the tough team or who's the best import because he's playing
Maybe
against them.
no, he will. He will give you the honest answer. He gave the. I was surprised that he gave the honest answer to. No, I'm not saying that he's dishonest. I'm just saying that
Mm,
some people, they would just omit the truth, like, okay, ganito lang, parang vague ang answer. But he was very specific with,
Yeah.
that
Mm-hmm.
relationship with the Stan, the relationship with
Mm-hmm.
Jamie. So mabuti kasi yun eh. Kasi as news sources, kagaya natin, news reporters, we
Mm-hmm.
go to the sources. Iba talaga kung yung the root. You have to go to the root. And although some people tell me ganito, ganon, and to hear from him the other side, that was important to really shape
Correct.
the story if you're writing one. So anyway, on that note, Pao, close na natin para hindi masyadong mahaba yung mga nanonood sa replay. And then I'll just call you after we hang up.
Yeah, it's actually 727 still watching. You know what? I would like to
Wow.
say one thing first.
Yeah.
You know who's interesting? That will be
Who?
next because of
Who?
there's a lot of comment of Al Francis Chua.
Oh, no, don't forget that. He'll never come to our show. Never.
Okay.
Never.
Okay.
Because he's very private. I'm just saying that. And,
Mm.
but you try, pal. You can try. I mean, work
You
the
know, I
pal
wasn't
magic.
expecting that coach. I wasn't expecting Coach Tim Cone to be here, but he was here, and I was really blessed, and we really appreciate that. But who knows? I mean, there's a lot of but yeah, I'm just saying, we
Pal,
already got the four coaches. Why not reach for the moon?
I
The big
saw,
boss where your questions will be answered.
I saw you, ha. May mga kumakalap na video yata doon, eh. Ang lapit mo kay Kume. I don't know what you guys were talking about, ha?
Maybe we could interview commissioner.
Yeah, I think hell will freeze over before he comes to the show.
Come on, he's a
I
nice
know.
guy.
I know.
I think I have his number.
Well,
You want
I
me to
do
reach out?
too. I do too. I also have his number. Kaya lang, dead ma, cricket. Again, I respect that. Di naman obligado si ano eh. Again,
Yeah.
these are private entities. These are not public figures na pwede mong sabihin, hey, I'm a taxpayer. Pwede ba
I think
i-explain
they're
mo to?
public. I think they're public figure though. I mean,
No, but
everyone
not
knows
in
them.
that. No, not in that sense that they are government employees or in the service of the people. These are private. Yeah, they're public figures. Yeah, but they're not public
Yeah,
servants.
but
You know,
there's
you
still
pub-
an interest from the fans, brother. I
I
mean, the
know,
fans
but
are interested.
again, hindi kagaya ng congressman yan na sinusunduhan ng taong bayan. So
Mm.
when you can say, I'm a media, I want to ask questions on this, and then there is an obligation to answer. Pero sila,
Mhm.
public figure, yes. Just like Michael Jordan is a public figure, but he'll never talk to us. You know what I mean? So ganun yun, walang
Mm.
obligasyon, there is no obligation on their part to talk to us. But again, this was a very good show. Galing pa, ganda.
Thank you, and you
Sorry,
too.
sometimes
Congratulations.
I have just to explain sa mga listeners
Mm.
natin. Sometimes the line of questioning is long because you have to predicate it. Kasi you have to, you're talking to a personality and like Tim Cohn and, trying to elicit answers na gusto mo talagang makuha. It needs in journalism, they call that the runway. So kailangan mo i-predicate lahat and then you ask the
Predicate mo
question.
muna.
It is not as easy as ilang taon ka. Sino pangalan mo? Ganito, gano'n. No. There has to be that on. So you kind of ease that question what you want him to answer. And then, tingnan mo, mga answers niya ang galing. Because they're multifaceted. In fact, when you ask him questioning, sabi niya, good question, but multifaceted. So I'm gonna answer it this way. So ganun kuha na. If you notice, tama ka. There were no follow-up questions because his answers did not necessitate a follow-up question.
Right.
Kasi kumpleto na, kumbaga sa ulam. 2-for-1 na, may dalawang ulam, may rice, at saka may soft drinks na. Pwede na. Nandun na lahat. That's the beauty of, talking to Tim Cone.
Okay.
So anyway,
In that regards, nagiging si Optimus Prime ka na. Thank you very much, Homer. I think we have to conclude the show.
Yes, we do. Tawag ako when we get off.
All right.
So on that note, magandang gabi, Pilipinas, live from Chicago.
Okay, he's sounding like Optimus Prime, but on behalf of Homer Saison, we'd like to thank again Coach Tim. And I'll see you again next time, every Thursday on Homer Saison Podcast. Ako po si Pau Salud, sa ngalan ni Homer Saison. Goodbye ulit. Thank you, guys.
Are you ready? Powcast Nation! It started with passion, now it's a mission. Saw a vision, unite the sports nation. And if you join me, let's make history. about views, it's about the grind, the sacrifice, the heart, the power of the mind. You and I, we create a legacy. Take a photo, let's lock this memory. Here comes the boom, boom, pow. Powcast Nation, stand up now. Get ready for the truth. Pow, pow. The pioneer, the original Powcast. Sports updates, join Powcast Nation. Powcast Sports #1. For the love of the game, I tune in to Powcast. Fearless and real, the show's built to last. Not insane, just a visionary. Taking over, gonna be legendary. Pride of the Philippines, we're reaching the top. They might see us struggle, but we never stop. Passion's burning, no hesitation. We stand tall, Powcast Nation. Here comes the boom, boom, pow. Powcast Nation, stand up now. Get ready for the truth, pow, pow. The pioneer, the original Powcast. Sports updates, join Powcast Nation. Powcast Sports #1. We got you covered from the root to the fruit. Basketball's life, even small we shoot. Boxing, MMA, we fight like kings. Warriors and champions, the world knows our rings. No matter the sport, we rep PH. Powcast fans, we fight and preach. We pray, we cheer, we give it all. Standing strong, we'll never fall. Filipino fans, here we go! Yeah, hype na naman si Pao Salud. Pag nagsalita, it just sounds good. Mga bashes, haters, naghihintay bumagsak. Pero tuloy lang, walang atras. Huwag kang makipag-debate, di mo kaya. Makinig ka na lang para tuloy ang ligaya. Powcast, malakas, tanggapin mo na. Consistent dripping, kaya shout out muna. Here comes the boom, boom, pow. Powcast Nation, stand up now. Get ready for the truth. Powcast, the pioneer, the original Powcast. Sports updates, join Powcast Nation. Powcast Sports #1. Sports fans, clap your hands, stay motivated. Motivated. From PH to the world, stay elevated. Stay subscribed, stay tuned. Powcast is the truth. Here comes the boom, boom, pow. Powcast Nation, stand up now. Get ready for the truth. Powcast, the pioneer, the original Pow. Sports updates, join Powcast Nation. Powcast Sports #1. Powcast Sports, the #1 independent sports voice in the Philippines. Oh.
Powcast Sports. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell.